Artificial intelligence, according to reports, describes many different technologies that have the ability to learn on their own, while some say
Mhm.
it could lead to a nuclear level catastrophe. Others say it will have an overwhelming positive net impact on the world. Hello and welcome to Let's Talk. My name is Oluwole with the topic Pros and Cons of AI in Modern Technology. My guest is Mr. Oluwole Fagbohun, Machine Learning Lead at ChangeBlock Holdings. But before we delve into the program proper, as usual, I'd like to remind you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on all of our social media platforms. Until then, please enjoy this ride with us. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Wale, for coming on the show. It's nice having you.
Yeah, thank you. It's my pleasure.
Now, in detail, what is AI?
Well, okay. I think everyone now talks about AI. AI basically, in simple layman's language, is about us being able to program computers to be able to mimic how we behave as human beings, from learning how to reason, to problem solving, to perceiving, to language understanding and language generation, seeing images and all that. So basically, we're trying to it's a technology that involves us being able to program computers to be able to behave like humans, basically to mimic how humans behave, how we reason, how we solve problems, how we understand language, how we look at images, pictures, and understand how when we see a picture of a dog, we know that this is a dog in it, being able to program a computer to act like that. It's a broad field anyways. It encompasses things like machine learning, which is more like about learning patterns from data and all that. It also covers things like robotics, which is also another animal in itself. NLP, natural language processing, computer vision. So they all lie under the spectrum of AI.
Okay. Now, is
Mhm.
AI a threat to human intelligence or a blessing? Because now it's becoming a very popular thing and it calls for attention.
Well, I think it's very interesting questions, and a lot of leaders in the field have actually been debating for and against this. So it largely depends on how you see it, really, because I think our everyday life right now revolves around AI tools and tech. From just your phone that you're using to make a call. Perhaps you open your phone with image recognition, you have your fingerprints on your phone maybe to open some apps and all that. So these are things that we've integrated into our lives. It helps us even in our jobs, maybe to solve problems, automations and all that. But on the flip side of things also, there are dangers, assigned to AI. Some very extreme and others are lightweight. But for me, I think in terms of the dangers, well, you could if you follow the AI buzz around, you would realize that one of the key players in the AI industry just resigned from Google. You know, Jeff Hinton, he just resigned from Google because he outlined some key issues, which was he feared, and which he feels are a big problem with the current trend of developments in AI. And one of the most critical one is I think misinformation. The ability now to be able to spread info lies online. It's really at a very threatening level right now because you can actually I'm sure you might have experienced them yourself where you see people make very real looking images, voices, videos, and they're not really true, and they can spread a lot of misinformation. Then again, you have spam bots that can actually you could use to spread a lot of misinformation online at a rapid pace, beyond the speed of any human can. Then again, it has the ability to be able to disrupt the job market. There was an article by I think Goldman Sachs that about 300 million jobs can be replaced by AI in Europe and the US. So that in itself is a big threat because these jobs are going to be replaced by AI. What exactly are the people going to be doing? And it's I think one of the biggest job spectrum that will be affected by AI is administrative tasks that have to do with automations because anything that they are repetitive, AI can easily do them. Even standard programming could do them to some extent, but administrative tasks that require some level of thinking, the AI tools can actually do them at a better pace than many administrators can. So it has the possibility of stripping away all those types of jobs. Then again, it can also create another kind of scenario which has to do with people having to accept lower wages. Say, for example, you are a journalist and or maybe perhaps you are working in a team or with you can experience stiff competition from other journalists who are using like these AI tools and ready to take less because now they can do so much more with things like Chat GPT and they're able to like maybe create articles at a faster speed and then employers will be are willing to pay less money for the work done because it appears that the jobs are becoming easier to do and why can they pay less, and there are more people who will be willing to take less considering the fact that some jobs are already gone or would be gone, if the continuous development continues at this pace. So that's another problem. Then another key issue that can go wrong and which it might happen it could lead to a very sorry state of learning for humans in itself, where you could get to a situation where AI intelligence might surpass human intelligence and it can actually make us become more lazy. Because, for example, a student who has to write a thesis and doesn't have to do much, but just, with simple English language, write a prompt to ChatGPT and generate like half of their essay, so or their whole essay, and they just have to maybe like proofread it or even submit it, depending on how good they are in terms of prompting. So this would limit the amount of work they have to do. And remember that like education requires us to put in that effort, that for us to assert ourselves to be able to learn. And when humans are not learning, then you have a problem because we would be largely dependent on AI tools and we would not be able to like improve human intelligence. And that's another key problem that AI can cause. So these three key issues, I think, are the major, they're one of the biggest problems. Then again, there's another aspect which people don't really talk about much, or maybe we talk about, but it's maybe not spoken about as well as it should, is the use of AI in military, and by governments, because beyond the fact that it could be used to spread misinformation, you could use, like, there are a lot of cases now about people using AI to like manipulate elections or electorates because you could actually use it to understand how people think and you can actually use it to re-engineer or to reverse engineer their thought process by continuing to feed them with information that will actually trigger people, and this has happened like in different countries and it's happening and will continue to happen without regulation. That's one of the problems. Then again, with military, there are a lot of algorithms now, especially in computer vision, that can make it very easy for a lot of governments to develop very dangerous tools, especially tools that have to do with like not even tools, maybe perhaps weapons to be able to like even obliterate a whole country or even the whole earth. So it's a bit frightening because if you read some of the research papers and you consider what can be done with the technologies that are available, especially when they're in the wrong hands, then you would actually have cause to worry. So that's on the side of the cons. So in terms of the benefits, of course, there are numerous benefits to AI. If there wasn't, we wouldn't all be buzzing about it. I work in the climate space, and I can tell you that the amount of data or information that is available online about like different things that have to do with climate, it's a bit difficult for any human or even group of humans to be able to analyze those documents. But because of AI that's available right now, we are able to like make enhanced decisions, about things that can help us improve our own world that we live in right now. So that's only possible because of the amount of tech that we have right now, largely because of AI. It's also very good for like startups like the company I work for to be able to like automate a lot of tasks because with startups, you work with a budget and a lot of startups are able to automate a lot of tasks. So that way they don't have to like hire people that they can afford not to hire because you're working with like a limited budget. And that's very helpful to small companies. Then again, it improves efficiency and productivity. You know, maybe a job that would probably have taken you weeks or months to do, now you can do them in a few hours or days. So that's a good thing. Then one of the things we enjoy now is personalization, from personalization in learning to personalization in watching our movies. You see, when you use things like Netflix now, you could just, if you watch a movie, it kind of recommends other movies that are similar to the movie that you liked. So those are things that AI has been able to help us to do. It has also helped us to enhance security, like the fingerprint, facial recognition to maybe open your banking app and all that. Then it also helps to like, scalability. You can easily scale. So businesses that maybe you could have a one-man business in your comfort of your home and you could be working with thousands and millions of customers. It's only possible because you can use AI to be able to support like the different tasks in your company and ensure that your customers are happy. And they will probably never even know that it's just a one-man business because these tools are available. So If whether it's a threat to humanity or not, yeah, I think it will always the debate will continue. But personally, I think there's a need for regulations. There are a lot of regulations coming up, but they're in fragments, and fragmented regulations are not the solution because it doesn't help when you do not have like a unified regulation that can guide and ensure that everyone is playing according to the rules. Until that is done, you would continue. You would never really know to what extent uh, people are using AI, and if it falls into the wrong hands, then we can only wish and hope, or wish is not a strategy, if you ask me. We need to like have a concrete regulation that can actually guide the players in the industry to ensure that everyone lives according to the rules and ensure that we are all safe and we can continue to live as human beings without the threat of being obliterated one day by AI or someone who gets crazy and has the AI capability in their hands.
Thank you so much for that. You made mention of basically you said something about scam, and this scam issue is one thing that this thing, like you said, has been, but we really do not know the extent that's gone because we all use phone, we use all of these technologies, and we do not know that basically just felt, okay, this is phone, this is iPad, this is iPhone, this is that. But now it's becoming more pronounced that, like you said, it's taking over people's jobs. Now, I remember that sometimes on the news that they were telling people to be careful of scam. They will kidnap the person, but they'll call the family and play the exact voice of that family member, telling them, please come get me, send this amount of money to them. They need this, they need that, exactly like the family member. And somebody fell into it, quickly sent an amount of money just to discover that the person that she was worried about was sleeping in a house.
Yeah, I think these are one of the many situations that people can fall into because when you have tools, you have lots of them out there. Some of them are even free. I would not call their names, so I don't encourage, I don't help people to also perfect their scams. But there are a lot of tools out there that can actually generate human-like voices and even to be more precise, your own voice. And it just takes maybe one or two, we call it few shot learning, where I pass in maybe a couple of sentences from the person. Maybe I get them to record, or I even record them without even knowing. I record your voice and I can use it to train my own model to be able to generate a voice like your voice. And it's a bit terrifying when you hear yourself speak and you're not actually speaking, So it can be terrifying to see that someone can actually take your voice and use your voice to be able to like engineer something of a negative consequence like what has just happened in that scenario, because these scams like that can actually happen and they are actually possible because of the amount of the kind of tech that is available right now, and it's really freely available. You do not need to be like a programmer to be able to even do that, so it's quite that's one of the dangers anyways. It's quite unfortunate that things like that can happen, and I don't know if regulations can stop that, but we would see how the regulations come up over the next few years, if it's going to be possible to like to see how these tools that are being made can be, people can ensure that they are not used for scams like this. But it's a bit tricky, and that's one of the dangers of technology. It could be used wrongly.
So does that mean that getting this voice could be someone very close, or is it that anyone anywhere can get such voice?
Well, I think these days we're even more prone to fall into things like that because we're all over social media. We record ourselves, we do stuff, we post our pictures, we do a lot of things, and everything is really available online. We talk about personal things that relates to us and all that, and that's enough information. If you're doing a bit of social engineering by the scammers, would just make it easier it makes it very simple for them because you could just pick up a few videos of the person, maybe from Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, and there you go.
That's serious. Thank you so much for that. Let's quickly go on this break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, the program is Let's Talk on DNP Work, and I've been speaking with Mr. Oluwole Fagbohun, Machine Learning Lead at Change Block Holdings. And the topic has been pros and cons of AI in modern technology. If you're just joining us, well, I would advise that you go back to the video again to actually see what we've discussed so far. Thank you so much, Mr. Fagbohun, for standing by.
You're welcome.
Now that we know the advantage and disadvantages of AI, how do we balance advancements and risk?
Well, like I've said, and I think it's actually out there, it's more about regulations because without regulations, it's impossible to be able to tell to what extent people would go and to what extent things would spiral out to. In terms of development, there's a lot of excitement, a lot of things are happening. But now I think a lot of companies, especially the leading company, which everyone knows about now, that made ChatGPT OpenAI, has become a bit more closed, despite the fact that the name is open. And without that openness, it's a bit difficult to know what exactly is happening under the hood. And without knowing exactly what's happening under the hood, then you have a problem because you cannot tell to what extent some of these tools are dangerous. And it's important that these regulators are also experienced in. It's not a political fanfare where you bring in people who you think are maybe like politically experienced alone. It has to be, I think, a collaboration between decision makers and those who are experts in the AI field who can be able to look at these different tools made by different companies, both the open source ones and off the shelf tools by some of these big players now coming up like OpenAI and the rest of them. Anyways, if without you having this clear regulation and being able to access what technology they have, it will be very difficult to be able to tell what exactly can go wrong, to what extent. We know what can go wrong, but to what degree can it go wrong? You never can tell. There are even other dangerous ones like adversarial attacks and all that. That's a different animal in itself. Those are things that maybe perhaps those who are already in the industry or those who are like expert AI engineers or data scientists or ML engineers, and they are not like, and they decide to flip over to the other side because we kind of assume that everyone who is in this field has some form of a moral compass to do the right thing with what they've learned. But say, for example, one goes bad, to what extent can they use these tools to be able to like perpetrate evil? You can't really tell because someone who is an expert in adversarial attacks can really do so much harm, can poison networks, can do so much damage, and that's at a very great scale. And it's possible that that can be adopted by governments and all that to be able to like perpetrate even cyber attacks to other countries, and all that. So it's a bit scary what can happen in terms of if it goes bad. But if it goes well, so much good can be done with AI, especially I work in the climate space, and I think it's one of the most important spaces that needs these developments in AI. Also, education. These are sectors that can actually benefit a lot from AI, and maybe perhaps they receive less funding because education is not as appealing as maybe finance, and all the other sectors that you have this pause, maybe health tech and all that, which is another good sector. But without the main thing that can actually help right now, that's why people like Elon Musk maybe perhaps said we should regulate and all that. Maybe I'm not like 100% with him on how far his regulations or maybe telling us to put a pause on AI developments right now. I don't really think that's the solution because developments will happen one way or the other. And the laws, we don't have a unified body that actually makes that regulation. And I think it will be important to be able to bring all the key players together and have a standard, a clear standard, like in many other industries, that would set a framework in which everyone can be able to practice and not like it will not, how would I put it? It will not constrain creativity, but to also ensure that we are all safe as human beings. I think that's what's most important right
now. Thank you so much for that. I know from all of your discussion, you've said something close to what I'm about to ask, but I just want to still ask it so that we can have, for people who might have missed that. Now, can humans compete with AI in any way, seeing how business giants are advising one another to embrace it?
Well, I don't think it's been clear right now that humans are still better than AI, in terms of like generally. But when you come to specific tasks that AI tools have been trained to be able to like handle, then you cannot, it's hard to say humans can compete with AI. For example, you can see that from the most intelligent board games like chess, Go, and all that. AI tools have smashed humans already. They've left humans behind years ago, not even now, not with the advent of ChatGPT and all the large language models. I'm talking about a long time ago. So that's already like the discussion is already in the bin already. No one is talking about that anymore. So for specific tasks, you have AI winning the race. But when you come to like general human knowledge or general human ability to say, for example, I can see, I can speak, I can walk, I can run, I can think. We're not yet there in terms of AI. You don't have like a lot of people are talking about sparks of, you know, of AI being able to like act like a human, general human, like a general, like generally in terms of like how a human would behave, but we are not yet there. So I can just tell you that for specific task, domain specific task, or maybe a more broad, a more specific term rather than like generally as a human being would behave, you can't say AI is better than humans. But when you come to a specific task, they will most likely surpass human ability.
Thank you so much for that clarification. So humans are still having their own feel of all of it. You know,
Yeah, that's when you combine everything. But you see, the catch is this: you could actually sum up a lot of AI tools together, or let me say AI models together in your pipeline or whatever, and you're able to build. Mainly, companies don't need you to be like good in everything. They just need the AI tool to be able to help them to make critical decisions, that gives them that competitive advantage. So depending on what you do, you could always build an AI solution to solve that problem. Initially, like the good part about, maybe the bad part as well, is it might start out maybe not as good as an expert, but eventually AI tools will get better and better, and they surpass sometimes the human baselines in their industry, and that's even better than an expert sometimes.
mm. So all these video games are part of AI that men you see them, playing and competing with just the pad.
Well, video games have been here even before AI, I
Yeah.
think in itself, but I think AI has also helped to like elevate some of these games to make them better and all that. Just like every other sector, AI helps to like improve like the kind of technologies that are being used, the kind of tools enhances the experience. Like I play PS, and you notice that if you play it now, it tells you that like it personalizes your experience. Maybe you're playing a particular level, it tells you, okay, I'll take you to the next level. After this game, I analyze how good you are or how bad you are, and I can actually, take you to a level that is commensurate to your skill level, and all that. So it helps to enhance the experience of all these video games, also. So it's one of the applications. You can literally find AI in largely everything we do this in this current day and age.
Thank you for very much. Any final word?
Well, I can only say it's exciting times and it's also worrisome times. I think they go hand in hand. And just like anything that has to do with technology, it's always, the how would I put it? The overall impact of anything that we do largely lies on the individual who uses technology itself, So if the individual decides to tailor the technology to something negative, then you have a negative result. And on the flip side, if you decide to use it for something positive and ennobling and uplifting, then you have a good result. So that's just how it is. So the AI itself is not the fault, they're not the problem. The problem is the humans who are using AI. And because we cannot tell or we cannot read on our heads what each individual will do with it, it's imperative that we have like a robust framework for regulation to regulate how we use AI, how the big players use AI, and how everyday individuals can use AI so that we do not have people falling into scams like what you talked about. And we can actually use them positively to improve the industries and areas that really need AI and investments in AI technology. That's what I can say.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wale Fagbohun. It's been
Yeah.
wonderful having you on the show.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And to you out there, thank you too for being part of the show. But remember that humans actually still have the upper hand, but we still need to
Slightly.
do our best. We still need to do our best to keep learning. We should not depend on all of these things too much because they could actually fail too. They could fail.
Yeah, I think that's an important point you brought up. It could actually make mistakes because it could come up with spurious answers sometimes. And another problem with AI is because it's these very complex models are black box. You don't know what's going on under it. So when they make mistakes, you might not be able to know. One of the key problems with tools like ChatGPT is hallucinations. So sometimes you ask it a question, and it gives you an answer, but the answer is completely wrong. But it just gives you the answer, it spits out the answer. And because it always looks correct, you think it's correct, but it's not correct. So that's where the problem also lies. You might not be able to discern when it's right or wrong if you do not know already before time what the right answer looks like.
So you see,
that's a problem.
it existed. Until next time, I remain Olujoke. What's that? Goodbye for now.